Feeling that nasty cough tickling your throat? A little bronchitis, perhaps? Maybe those nagging aches and pains just won't quit? In our modern age, you might pop an ibuprofen, grab some cough syrup from the drugstore. Simple, right? But journey back with me, just over a century ago, to the dawn of the 20th century. An era brimming with scientific optimism. The hottest new medicine, praised by doctors, adored by patients, and marketed by one of the most trusted names in pharmaceuticals, wasn't some simple syrup. It was heroin. Yes, that heroin. The one whispered about in dark alleys today. Back then, it was sold openly, proudly bearing the name Bayer. Yes, the aspirin people. They declared it a non-addictive miracle, a powerful yet gentle cure for coughs, pain, asthma, bronchitis. Heck, they even claimed it could cure morphine addiction itself. And the pièce de résistance? It was marketed as perfectly safe for children. Let that sink in. Giving your sick child heroin. How on earth did a substance now considered one of the most destructive drugs on the planet begin its life cycle as a celebrated, over-the-counter wonder drug, a supposed hero of modern medicine? Get comfortable. Maybe grab a stiff, non-radioactive drink. Because this is the unbelievable, tragic, and frankly insane story of heroin. To truly grasp the madness, we need to understand the desperation. The late 19th century wasn't exactly a picnic, medically speaking. Pain was a constant companion for many. Surgery was brutal. Chronic diseases like tuberculosis, the consumption, were rampant, often condemning sufferers to slow, agonizing deaths marked by relentless, body-racking coughs. The reigning king of pain relief? Morphine. Extracted from the humble opium poppy, morphine was a double-edged sword. It offered blessed relief from agony, transforming surgery and easing the suffering of the chronically ill. The American Civil War saw its widespread use on wounded soldiers, but this relief came at a terrible price. Addiction. Soldier's disease, they called it. Thousands returned home physically healed but hopelessly dependent on morphine. Doctors, often meaning well but lacking understanding, prescribed it liberally for everything from major pain to minor nervousness, inadvertently creating legions of addicts in everyday life. And the cough. Oh, the cough. Not just a simple tickle, but the deep, hacking coughs of TB, pneumonia, and bronchitis that could literally tear muscles and prevent sleep for weeks on end. Existing cough remedies often contained opium, codeine, or even chloroform, things that sort of worked, but either turned you into an addict or, well, knocked you unconscious. Not ideal. So, the clarion call went out across the scientific world. Find us a miracle. A painkiller as strong as morphine, but without the devil's bargain of addiction. A cough suppressant that actually works, silencing those graveyard coughs without enslaving the patient. This was the holy grail of late 19th century pharmacology. Enter the chemists, tinkering away in their labs. In 1874, an English chemist, you've probably never heard of, C.R. Alder Wright, was messing around with morphine in London. Just experimenting, he boiled morphine powder with a potent chemical called acetic anhydride, think super vinegar. What emerged was a new, white, crystalline powder. Curiosity piqued, he injected it into dogs. The results weren't exactly promising. The dogs became sleepy, fearful, seemed unable to feel much, and their breathing slowed alarmingly. Wright documented his findings, noted the compound's power, called it diacetyl morphine, and largely forgot about it. Just another lab experiment, or so it seemed. Fast forward 23 years, to 1897. The stage shifts to Elberfeld, Germany, home of the rapidly expanding pharmaceutical giant, Bayer. Bayer was already riding high on the success of its first global blockbuster, aspirin, synthesized into a stable form just recently by a chemist named Felix Hoffmann. Hoffmann, apparently not one to rest on his laurels, was also working on that holy grail mission. Find a better, safer morphine. Whether he knew of Wright's obscure paper or rediscovered it independently is debated, but Hoffmann cooked up the exact same compound, diacetyl morphine. He sent his white powder down the hall to Bayer's head of pharmacology, Heinrich Dresser, a respected but notoriously ambitious scientist. Dresser ran tests. Rabbits, frogs, even Bayer's own factory workers became his guinea pigs. Worker safety wasn't exactly top priority back then. The results were astounding. Diacetylmorphine wasn't just as powerful as morphine. It seemed significantly more potent, especially at stopping coughs. It worked like magic. Workers with hacking coughs reported instant relief, a feeling of blissful calm. It seemed to kill pain faster and more effectively, too. And then came the fatal assumption. Dresser, based on his initial flawed observations, perhaps focusing too much on certain dose levels or short-term effects, and maybe blinded by ambition, declared diacetylmorphine to be remarkably non-addictive. He argued it didn't depress breathing as severely as morphine, which wasn't entirely true, and somehow passed through the body, cleaner. It was exactly what Bayer, and the world, wanted to hear. Bayer needed a brand name, something strong, something powerful, something reflecting the drug's perceived ability to make patients feel mighty, heroic even, in their fight against illness. They chose heroin, from the German heroisch, a hero drug for a new century. Bayer didn't just release heroin in 1898. They unleashed it upon the world with a marketing blitzkrieg. This wasn't hidden away in hospital dispensaries. This was advertised directly to doctors and the public as the go-to remedy for respiratory ailments. Ads appeared in prestigious medical journals worldwide, touting heroin's numerous advantages over morphine. Newspapers carried ads promising relief. Bayer sent out free samples to thousands of doctors, encouraging them to try it on their patients. Sales reps painted a rosy picture of a powerful, effective, and crucially, safe medication. The slogans were bold. The sedative for coughs. Simple, direct, promising peace from hacking fits. Bayer heroin stops coughs, doesn't constipate, highlighting a common side effect of morphine, opium. Non-addictive morphine substitute, the golden ticket, the claim that sealed its initial success. Heroin, the safe choice for children's bronchitis. Yes, they explicitly targeted the pediatric market. Ads showed cherubic children sleeping peacefully, thanks to Bayer's heroin syrup. And the most dangerously absurd claim? Heroin as a cure for morphine addiction. Doctors were encouraged to switch their morphine-dependent patients to heroin, believing it would be an easier step down. It was like offering vodka to cure alcoholism. Patients didn't get better. They just got hooked on something far stronger. For a few years, the world seemed convinced. Doctors, overwhelmed by coughing consumptives and chronic pain sufferers, prescribed heroin with abandon. Pharmacists sold Bayer's heroin elixirs, powders, and tablets over the counter. Patients did report incredible relief. Coughs vanished. Pain subsided. A warm, euphoric calm washed over them. It truly felt heroic, but the honeymoon was brutally short. The heroic mask began to slip, revealing something monstrous underneath. Whispers turned into worried murmurs. Then alarmed reports in medical journals. Doctors noticed patients needing higher and higher doses of heroin to get the same effect. Classic tolerance. Patients treated for a simple cough were returning months later, desperate, not for cough relief, but for their heroin fix. And the withdrawal. Oh God, the withdrawal. Patients trying to quit described a hell far worse than morphine withdrawal. Agonizing muscle cramps, bone-deep aches, uncontrollable vomiting and diarrhea. Feverish chills, alternating with profuse sweating, insomnia, severe anxiety, and a psychological craving so intense it felt like their very soul was screaming for the drug. The term, kicking the habit, referring to the involuntary leg spasms of withdrawal, became chillingly relevant. Case studies piled up. The Denver Post reported babies born addicted because their mothers used heroin cough syrup during pregnancy. Hospitals in New York and Philadelphia sounded the alarm about new admissions specifically for heroin addiction, often young people who started using it recreationally after discovering its intense euphoric rush. Diacetylmorphine's chemical structure allows it to cross the blood-brain barrier much faster than morphine, hitting the brain's pleasure centers like a sledgehammer. Morphine addicts treated with heroin universally reported developing a worse, harder-to-kick habit. The horrifying truth emerged. Heroin wasn't non-addictive. It was hyper-addictive, perhaps 2 to 3 times more so than morphine. Bayer's initial assessment wasn't just flawed, it was a catastrophic blunder. How did Bayer react? Not well. Initially, they stuck to their guns, blaming patient misuse, pre-existing addictive personalities, or doctors prescribing it incorrectly. They sponsored biased studies, trying to downplay the risks. But the sheer volume of negative reports, the undeniable evidence from clinics and hospitals worldwide, became impossible to ignore. The hero drug was creating villains, addicts, at an alarming rate. The public and governments finally started to catch on. The glowing miracle cure now looked like a dangerous poison. The turning point in the US was the Harrison Narcotics Act of 1914. Driven by mounting panic over cocaine and opiate addiction, including heroin. This wasn't an outright ban, but it was the beginning of the end for easy access. It imposed taxes, required strict record-keeping, mandated prescriptions, and effectively criminalized non-medical possession and distribution. Suddenly, doctors became wary of prescribing it, and users faced legal consequences. Internationally, agreements like the Hague Convention pushed for global controls. Countries started restricting or banning heroin imports and sales. Bayer, facing a public relations nightmare and undeniable scientific evidence, finally, quietly, stopped producing heroin around 1913. They never issued a major public apology or retraction. They just let their heroic drug fade from their product lists, focusing instead on their other white powder miracle, aspirin. But the addiction epidemic they helped unleash, that didn't just fade away. With legitimate supplies drying up, heroin didn't vanish. It simply moved from the pharmacy shelf to the back alley. Organized crime syndicates saw a golden opportunity. They stepped in to manufacture and distribute illicit heroin, meeting the desperate demand of tens of thousands of people Bayer had inadvertently hooked. Heroin's transformation was complete. From a respectable, high-tech medicine sold by a trusted company to a dirty, dangerous street drug peddled by criminals. The very name, once evoking strength and salvation, became a synonym for degradation, overdose, and death. By the 1920s and 30s, most Western countries had banned heroin completely, even for medical use, though diamorphine, its chemical name, is still used very restrictively in palliative care in some places like the UK. The Bayer chapter was closed, but the global nightmare of heroin addiction had just begun. So, how could this happen? How could Bayer, the creators of aspirin, unleash such a monster? It wasn't just corporate evil, though profit motives certainly played a huge role. It was a perfect storm of factors. 1. Genuine desperation. The suffering caused by untreatable pain and coughs was immense. Doctors needed something better. 2. Primitive science. Addiction. Science was in its infancy. They lacked the tools and understanding to properly assess long-term dependency potential. Early tests were fatally flawed. 3. Confirmation bias. Bayer wanted a non-addictive hit. Dresser likely saw what he wanted to see in the early results. 4. Aggressive, unregulated marketing. In an era before strict drug regulations, Bayer could make bold, unsubstantiated claims and push their product hard before the full picture emerged. Profit trumped precaution. The story of heroin's birth is more than just a historical curiosity. It's a chilling cautionary tale that echoes through the decades. It's a story about the seductive allure of quick fixes, the dangers of unchecked corporate power in medicine, and the devastating human cost when scientific hubris meets commercial ambition. Tragically, it's a story we seem doomed to repeat. Look no further than the modern opioid crisis, fueled by prescription painkillers initially marketed, just like heroin, as powerful yet safer, less addictive alternatives. The names change, the molecules change, but the pattern of desperation, profit, and devastating addiction remains hauntingly familiar. It's a stark reminder that even drugs born from heroic intentions can unleash unimaginable demons, especially when they promise the world in a little brown bottle.